Hey, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another segment of Outside the Box. I'm your host, Onay, the CEO, and I have someone very special for you today. So I want you to stay plugged in, tuned in, tapped in to Outside the Box. I have someone very special today. But before I introduce him, I have something that I want you to see. Check him out.
I'm gon' let my light shine, cause it's all for the King of Kings. So I ain't gon' let my problems get the best of me, best of me. Even when I'm hurt and I feel the doubt, and every little thing I can't talk about, He knows and knows what I need, He knows and knows. Yeah, I was just thinking that I don't deserve this kind of love from you. And all of those choices, the late night escapades that kept me away from you, Lord, all this time.
Some call him Ro, others call him the late bloomer. I call him my friend. I want you guys to give it up for none other than Roshan, the late bloomer Langhum.
Yes, y'all. Yes. I love that. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much for coming. I am
Thank
so
you for
happy
having
to
me.
have you. I know who you are. I know what you do. But for our listeners and our viewers, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and what all you do?
Well, I'm a Houston native, born and raised here, Sunnyside, Texas. What's up, Sunnyside, Worthing? I'm a musician, singer, songwriter, producer, piano player is what people know me for. And I'm in education as well, so a little bit of everything.
All around, huh?
Yeah.
All around. So what inspired you to want to get into music? Because that's how I met you years ago. Was I met you actually on set. You were playing in the band, and I was
Yeah.
performing poetry, and that's how we
Yeah,
met.
yeah.
So what inspired you to want to do that?
You know, it's a funny story because I wasn't like probably most creatives. I didn't like come out the womb saying, yeah, I want to be this, I want to be that. And I really didn't understand a lot about my history, my family. And I thought I was like the black sheep of the family who just all of a sudden, boom, you're the only person who's got this musical ability. But I actually wanted to be in marketing. And then one day I was at my parents' house and I was looking out the window and the wind was blowing, looked like a cinematic scene. And it's like, I want to do music. And my mom bought me a little Casio, shout out to Casio. They're pretty awesome now.
Yeah.
But I just started like making little beats with the program, little drum samples, and I'll be in there humming and stuff. And my mom would be listening. I was like, don't listen to me, And so I just, the career just kind of started from there and ended up going to college. That's why I got my formal training, Texas Southern University. Shout out to TSU, best HBCU in the world. Yes, I said it. And
Shout out.
yeah, I fell in love with jazz and hip hop there, and studied classical as well. And yeah, the love affair was born. So I was a late bloomer, for sure.
Oh, you're a late
Yeah.
bloomer. So how many years have you been the late bloomer?
I have been the late bloomer officially. I want to say 5 years.
5 years, really?
If that.
Okay,
Yeah.
So, but you've been performing way longer than 5 years. So that name kind of came about. So I knew you when I met you. You was Ro.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So and that was back in 2007
That's
when
probably
I met you.
6 or 7.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
When I met you, and so now you're the late bloomer. How did that name come about?
Well, that name came about, first off, I was trying to find a way to rebrand myself. it's so funny because the people who know me from like early on, they would call me Tony, which is short for my first name, which is Antonio.
Mm-hmm.
And so then when I went to Roshan, it was kind of funny, which is my middle name. A lot of the people in the culture from Houston was like, this guy done changed his name, man. You know, he did this and did that.
Did a Prince on us.
Right, did a Prince. He a symbol, you know. But that wasn't the case. And so I was trying to reflect and think of something that was representative of where I was and how I viewed myself, so to speak. And I was just like, I remember there's a producer here and I can't believe I'm manifesting this, but there's a producer here named Seth Smith, really talented guy, drummer and everything. We've worked together along the years. And his email was the bench warmer. Mm-hmm. And I was like, man, that was so like I don't know, so deep to me. Mm-hmm. I was like, and I could see why he said that. Yeah. And I said, man, I really think about myself as a late bloomer. Mm-hmm. It's like I felt that for years, a lot of the people that I looked up to from Houston were like cultivating their gift way early. You know, they recognized it maybe in elementary. Mm-hmm. And for me to really basically be a senior in high school to start playing piano, I felt I had lost like so much time. Right. And that's where the name came from. And I was trying to actually spell it like THE. And then when I tried to register the domain, the movie The Late Bloomer showed up. Okay. And they was like, well, you can have it, but it's like for like 30, 50,000. I was like, well, yeah, I don't want that.
Yeah, not that. We can do something a little different.
Henceforth, the spelling, you know, D. And who knew that, you know, that would be like cool like now.
Yeah, right. Because you've become a household name in Houston, and you've played for so many people in so many places. What are some of the venues here in Houston that you know had residence at?
I've been blessed to be a part of a very special time in Houston, where there was like sort of kind of like this village underground experience that was happening in Houston. Shout out to Don Bowie for developing something that all is close to our hearts in Houston, especially around that time from 2006. I forget the name of the show, but it was on Sundays at the Red Cat Jazz Cafe. And Dave Marcellin, who was my mentor, may he rest in peace. I remember he just on faith opened up this place, and then they were going through this identity crisis. They were like trying to sell breakfast at one point. They was open super late, and it just became the hang. Right. And then it was like, well, let's start doing music. And so that was a big part of my growth. And just some of national acts would come through during different times. I remember one time Solange and Wayne Brady came to like one of my birthday parties, which was like weird, you know. And people was like, "You famous?" I was like, "No, I'm not." It was like, I don't know how that happened. Yeah.
Isn't it somehow other people can see our light before we do?
Yeah. I mean, it was.
You've been a star to me like forever, for real. I'm trying to tell you. You here because I think you're a star.
Thank you. I think I'm like 20% famous.
Oh, man. Know. Well, thank God for humbleness.
Yeah,
it
for
takes
sure.
You far.
For sure. Yeah. And then I was a part of another musical experience, 57 West, which was on Westheimer. And that was a movement that spawned actually two different bands. That band I was a part of was called Vibe Inc., and it was under bassist Anthony Nicholson from Louisiana. And we developed something that had never really been seen in Houston, where we would have like 2 bass players on stage, 3 guitar players, percussion, drums, horns, like 4 or 5 singers. It was crazy.
Oh man!
And
whole movement.
Yeah, and it was so popular to where we literally worked every night of the week. And it was I was so tired. And then that kind of spawned off into me meeting Scott Gertner at the original Sky Bar.
Man, everybody loves Scott Gertner. Shout out to Scott Gertner.
Yeah, what up,
we
SG?
Love you, man.
It's an SG party.
Yeah, we gave him a shout on last week's show. Yeah. So.
And learned so much there. Met some really giants in the music industry through Scott, and I just never forget. You know, it's making me remember how he was always telling me, "Man, you need to do this. You need to get some pictures. You need to do that." Mm-hmm. And then spawned off into, well, Sambuca, and then Culinary Creations or Libra Lounge, which it became known, Azul Lounge, and God, what's the other place in Third Ward? Sevens. Now it's called something
Sugar
else.
Hill?
Yeah.
No, was it Sugar Hill?
Not
No?
Sugar Hill. Way before that. This was like, oh God, this might have been like '96.
Oh wow.
This was
So you have
Sevens. Yeah.
You have definitely paid your dues.
Yeah.
You definitely paid your dues. Now we know that you are loved in Houston. We love you. I love you.
Aw.
How is it when you travel to cities abroad?
I was just having this conversation with someone that was from Houston, and they actually I made a post about it too on Facebook. It's interesting because you'll have your core people like your family and the people who are tightly knit with you, who will support you. But it's nothing like going somewhere else and performing your music, or them discovering you, and you become that guy that's new to them, and you're not a part of their ecosystem, so to speak. And so they're like, wow, and the love that you get
Right.
is just overwhelming, and it's really disheartening sometimes when you expect that a place that you grew up that meant so much to you doesn't receive you the same. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, ah, man, this is whack, but
You always almost have to, that a leader always have to go away from his village,
Yeah,
So, I mean, even the Bible talks about that.
Yeah.
So you have to find your way, and a lot of times on this journey, most of your support is going to come from unfamiliar faces in unfamiliar places.
Yes.
Because the people that you're most familiar with is going to remember you for who you were, not for who you evolved into. And so you have to be okay with that.
Yeah.
And as long as you're okay with that, you're gonna open up yourself, because by not holding too much space for the people that's not seeing the vision, if you don't hold on to that, then you leave so much room for the people that want to give you that love and that support. So I definitely commend you for continuing the journey, because I know it's not easy, especially with all the puppies you've walked. I mean, you've paid your dues. You've performed at so many venues for so many artists, and you've done amazing work. Speaking of amazing work, you also are a songwriter.
Yeah.
Who are some of the artists that you've had the opportunity to write for?
A lot of the stuff that I did early on was ghostwriting stuff, a lot of R&B things. I actually had the pleasure of having Beyonce recording one of my songs, but she never released it. And my team, we got so excited because we was like, oh, man, our life just changed. Recently, I want to say about 2 years ago, there's a church here called the Lighthouse, Houston. I'm on that project, The River, with Pastor Keon Henderson. I wrote God's Favor. That was really cool, doing that record. I've done some smooth jazz stuff with Houston's own Kyle Turner, and Kyle's very highly decorated, and he's done everything, playing with Luther and everyone. I'm just kind of drawing a blank right now, but most of it has been on the production side for people. I think I've had probably just the same amount of people stealing intellectual property as well as legal stuff. I'm not gonna say any names. Shout out to those people. You know who you are.
Right.
But
So you've had your share, your fair. When you say ghostwriting, that means we can't even drop the name.
No,
whose song.
you
Yeah,
can't.
you get it because it's ghostwritten. So, but what was let me ask you this now. What was your aha moment? Like, where were you in your life when you decided to say, I love music enough to where this is what I'm going to invest my time, my energy, my everything into this craft? Like, where were you in life?
I remember, I think I was probably living off Dunval in like Westheimer. And I just remember saying, I felt I had came to a fork in the road professionally. And I had to decide, what is my love? What is my passion? Do I want to travel and keep playing for artists? And I love the artists that I played for. They were great. Some of them were people I thought I would never meet and, I looked up to. But then I was like, my passion is creating something from nothing, and then creating those stories and those textures and stuff. And it might have been around 2011 or so, or 2010. I just decided. I said, you know what? I'm going to really invest in myself, and I'm going to do this and see where this takes me. And I went. I think it was the first time I invested and bought a Macintosh. Excuse me, an iMac. And I remember I couldn't afford the new one, so I went and got a refurbished one. It still looked good, shout out to Apple. And I got that, and I started buying a computer desk and all these things. And I became a part of a production team, and we did some wonderful things. And I was like, this is where I want to be, and I would never want to do that over because of the people that I met, and then the affirmation that I got because of my art. They heard it, and I was being compared or in the same rooms as some of the greats, and I was making it to the final cut, and even for like commercials and stuff. It was just amazing, to see that happen, and just to continue in that mindset, because at some point you just got to believe, even when it doesn't make sense, doing stuff like now. I was telling someone, because we're in this really unprecedented time with COVID-19, and trying to understand, and a lot of the rug has been ripped from up under creatives. And I've just been telling people, you should be wondering what your posture should be exiting COVID-19. What are you doing during this time to further yourselves? And we have the internet. Yes. And so there's a lot of things that you can be doing. And so I focused on that. And so this now, the late bloomer, is kind of like a remnant of me starting to believe back in 2010. And here 10 years later, I'm redefining that. And it just feels wonderful with all the things that are happening because I decided to believe like that.
I love that. Because hopefully there's someone out there that is inspired by that, because sometimes with lack of support from people that we expected from, and just the uphill battle of investing in ourselves when we have recessive times, even like right now with COVID, we're in somewhat of recessive times, but we still keep going and keep showing up for ourselves. So sometimes that can be discouraging when it's not happening fast enough, but to see that you remained encouraged and remain faithful and on the journey, I'm very proud of you for continuing to do that.
Thank you.
Now, once you decided that this is something, you was at that fork of the road and you decided to take that path, how did that change the course of your decisions with dealing with friends and family relationships and all of that? Because sometimes once we make a decision to bet on us, we lose some people along the way. Sure. So how did that change, the course of your decisions?
Well, all of it was a testament to my spiritual alignment, as I began to pray to God more about my happiness and just contentment. I began to get to the point to where I felt like there was nothing left for me to do here. And my eyes began to look upon the horizon. And when I did that, it changed my language. It changed the decisions, and I became very calculated in how I did things, and very thoughtful about the resources that I had, and going and researching how to reach goals. And something so simple that you really don't think about. I know it may sound a little weird, but it seems like women are more apt to journaling and writing their thoughts down than guys are. And, even the Bible tells you to write the vision and make it plain, because the vision is for you to see, and that vision becomes tangible. Right. And so when I started doing that, writing down, like I created a vision tablet, and I started back in like 2014, and I started writing goals and stuff that I wanted to achieve. And it seemed really outlandish, and it's supposed to, because faith works that way. If your dream is something that you can attain on your own, it's not big enough. It's not really a dream.
I always
say
that if your dreams don't scare you.
Yeah.
They're not big enough.
They're not big enough.
Yeah. You're supposed to
Yeah.
get that butterfly feeling like,
Yes.
I don't know. Leap anyway.
Leap anyway.
Yeah.
And so.
Because, I mean, what do you have to lose by leaping?
Nothing.
Nothing.
I mean, you could say people feel that their pride or something like that. But I get it. So, in doing that and writing down my visions, and I just became very intentional about everything that I did. And I said I wanted to do my absolute best. And I stopped asking for hookups.
Right.
And I stopped asking for people to do stuff on a low. And then I treated everything that I did as a business. And I said, well, if we're not going to do a monetary transaction, can we barter? I do this and you do that. May we, work something out? Or I would just simply ask people, what do you require?
Right.
And that raised my level of faith so that I felt that God will bless me to have more than to ask for it on the low. You know what I mean? Because that doesn't represent
He's
him
gonna
anyway.
Make
You know what I mean?
if you make the plan.
Yeah. And when my mindset changed and being specific and making specific moves and having, as artists or musicians, sometimes we can be, we are trained to be chameleons because we are sponges. We are always looked upon to absorb someone else's creativity and then, operate within that framework. But we need to also have understanding and a desire and a vision for our lives.
Right.
And where do you see yourself in 5 years, 10 years? What are you doing to reach that? What type of artist? Are you just taking any calls that come, or are you putting yourself in a position so that you can get those calls that you want? And so that is what I've been doing, and the rewards are amazing. But it did separate me from people, and some of it was not cool.
Right.
I don't intentionally want to burn bridges, but sometimes when you start to make a transition, it's sort of like an earthquake. Stuff started rumbling. One plate tectonics going this way, and you're going that way, and it's like, and everything falls apart.
Yeah.
And I used to think that was a horrible thing, but sometimes it's necessary.
To come together the right way better.
That's right.
Sometimes God will clear your path.
Yeah.
And that sometimes it's not pretty and it's not comfortable.
Yeah.
But they call it growing pains for a reason.
Yeah, man. Wow.
Because sometimes it's a painful thing, but you grow in that pain, and when you come on the other side of it, you can understand why God removed those people.
For sure.
Because some places we are going,
Yeah.
we can't take everyone with us.
You're not supposed to.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't put everybody in your car.
Unfortunately, some people we actually want to take, and we still can't take them.
That's true.
We
That's
still
true.
can't. It's painful. So
Yeah.
we have to grow through it.
Right.
We have to grow through it. Now, I see that you've been doing things for years. Did you have a support team when you decided to do your own project?
My support team basically was like my parents and a couple of my friends. Most of it was all inner.
Yeah.
And it was quite lonely. Because as artists, we can say we don't want the affirmation from our peers or colleagues, but sometimes it would feel good, if you get it especially from your supporters.
Yeah.
More than anything, because I realized that some people, like you said, will see that you are a star or that you're shining or whatever that means, or that you have it, and they will not celebrate that. You know what I mean? It's and I've lived that, and some people you were giving the support that you wanted in return, and they were not even close to doing that for you. And you have to come to the realization that that's okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And focus on the people who show you love. Like you said,
Correct.
the unfamiliar faces and unfamiliar places, which makes it all worth it. You know what I mean? And
Right.
you just have to open up more to what the cosmos is doing for you. And, you know what I'm saying? And what the Holy Spirit is directing you to do, man. And not really focus on that, because I think I'm not really I don't really watch a lot of shows like that, but I happened to tune in to Oprah one time, and she said something that was so simple, but it was so paramount to me at that time. She said, if there's something that you're not really messing with no more, don't spend like one iota of a second thinking about it.
Yeah.
Your thoughts determine your
Your
reality.
Your reality.
And
If you don't
The
want
Bible
your
even says
reality,
that. It's like whatever you think, that's who you are.
yeah,
And so
you manifest it.
you manifest what's on the inside, and your thoughts, man, gaining control of your thoughts and being stable in your emotions and writing down your thoughts and reposturing yourself is everything. Yeah.
Yes. So, I see that you recently released a video with
Right.
Beanz, and also you have on there, oh my God, but Billy Cook.
Billy Cook, yeah.
Billy Cook, how did that come about?
You know, I am in love with LA culture as far as how it affected us when we were growing up. And like the whole NWA album, all of the Tupac, all of like just all that stuff that was coming out of the West, Snoop, and all of that. I love the instrumentation and how funk was, like the G-funk,
Yes.
right? And so I was like, well, Houston, we more known for like DJ Screw, you know, rest in peace, DJ Screw, and Michael 5000 Watts and all that, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, I don't necessarily want to make a song that's slow like that, and then I don't want necessarily all be fast, but I wanted to be something. So it was something that I just came up with as a concept. And I reached out to a couple rappers at first, and then they was like, oh, man, you know, that's kind of some different stuff. Can you slow it down? And I was like, no, it's supposed to be funk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so as
Because
it
it's
started,
definitely different.
Yeah,
It's a different style than what I'm used to.
Right.
Yeah.
So as I started putting it together, the pieces just started to come together. And so even Billy Cook said the same thing. He was like, man, give me some time. And he sent it back. I was like, wow, man, this is dope. And he was like, man, it really took me out of my box. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I knew, I was like, Beanz, you gotta put some talk box on this, man.
Yeah.
Because I know he's a very talented guy, man. And so we just reached out, man, and started talking and going back and forth, a bunch of emails and conversations and text messages, and then Houston came out. And I did, on the strength though, in the middle, pay homage to DJ Screw, to Sunnyside, Northside, Southside, everything, how I remember, you know, riding around listening to great tape, you know, so, and then I went right back to the deal, you know what I'm saying?
All right, well, I want our viewers to be able to check it out. Now, listeners, too. Let's see what you're working with.
When I was young, I used to really want a moped. But we ain't got no money, is what my mama said. All I could think about was coming up and coming down. 84s, low rolls, I'ma pops around. The boys in the hood used to keep it trill. But we get wood, grain, chrome, woman grill. Tight white inside, yeah, it's a bit. Deuce out the roof, cause the red turned head. Ain't no other place like my city. Home on the third coast, we ain't got no flex, bro. We be on some chill, though. Cause Southside elevation, it's where I'm coming from. H-Town home for life. Way too fresh, Sunnyside home. Yeah. I got love for my city, that's for sure. Way too loud, bro. Way too loud, bro.
Ain't no other city like I know. When I come through, I paint like Picasso. City to city, state to state, we gripping wood grain. Still lemonade in the shade, rocking off fade. This is how we get down on the underground. H-Town still ripping hard like a bloodhound. Just ripping my city, H-Town be the clutch. This is how we get down.
Ain't no other place.
No other place like my city.
Home on the third coast, we ain't got no flex, bro. We be on some chill, though.
Southside of the H-Town is where I'm coming from. Where I'm coming from.
Mo City, 2234.
Way too fresh, Sunnyside homeboys.
Way too fresh,
Southside still holding.
On that dope, so we ride blue, got the red. Coming down the street, stay clear, calling yes. Daily paying slabs, swinging with the votes. No side rights, let me get it goes. In that city key, all the way to spring. Rose shine, I'm about to tell 'em where I be. No
sunny side, homeboys still way too fresh, south side still holding. Oh, yeah.
That's where I'm from. Houston.
Outside of this city, I was born and raised.
Houston. That's where I'm from. Houston.
What up, Texas?
Houston. That's where I'm from.
Now it would be right if I didn't recognize Texas.
Southside of the nation, it's where I'm coming from. H-Town homie for life.
Way too fresh, sunny side, homeboys still way too fresh, south side still holding.
We're way too loud, bro.
Outside of the H-Town where I'm coming from.
Yeah, it's where I'm coming from. H-Town homie for life.
Way too fresh, sunny side, homeboys still holding.
Yeah. I got love for my city, and that's for sure.
Houston, I like that.
Hey.
You really showed homage to the city right there.
Yeah.
I mean, even most city, that's where I'm from. Now, if we want to stay in contact with you, we can find you on where? Instagram, Facebook?
Yeah, I don't have any of that stuff. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. So what's your Instagram?
You can connect with me on IG @ the late bloomer, spelled with a D, D-A-L-A-T-E, bloomer. Facebook made me be weird. I think it was underscore. No.
It's the late bloomer on Facebook.
Oh yeah, it's DA but underscore LATE bloomer, and I think Twitter is the same. But yeah, pretty much everywhere.
Well, if you Google the
Yeah.
late bloomer, you have a
Yeah.
whole bunch of stuff come up.
Yeah.
Now, I see that you actually released a single called "Working."
Yeah, working.
Yeah, I got like a little 30-second segment of it.
Yeah.
Let's hear. what
Work.
that sounds.
I know that it gets lonely sometimes, but that's when we see you working. Oh yeah, and I know that you hate the mistakes you made. Ain't nobody perfect.
Ooh, I love that. Now, where can we find that?
That song is everywhere, especially for my Spotify listeners. Make sure if you dig in the song that you like it and add it to your playlist or just to your library. You know what I'm saying? It's Apple Music, iTunes, everywhere.
Everywhere.
Pandora. We just recently got added to Pandora, which was, I didn't know it was that hard, but yeah.
Dope. Well, I want to thank you for coming to the show
Man,
today.
thank you for
I
having
also
me.
want to remind our viewers that we are on multiple platforms. Find the platform that works for you.
Yay.
Be sure to subscribe. You can find us on Google Play, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, iTunes, YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, Spreaker, and Stitcher. Thank you again, Ro, for
Man,
coming on the
hold
show,
up.
man. I love you, man, and keep up
Man.
the good work. I want to thank our viewers and our listeners for tuning in. Catch us next week, same time, same place. I'm Monet, and we're out.
Hey.